Looks like we have a light agenda.
Yeah. So yeah, it started recording. Hey, it's a SIG Release Meeting on April 22nd. One of the main things I wanted to talk about today was Victor. Thanks for volunteering for that and the DTF day for nephew. Rado, first question to you: are you traveling?
Me? No.
No, for the One Summit? No. Okay. Okay.
No.
Okay. So. So basically, on that day, thanks Fiacra for joining also. Very good. Uh, so one of the topics for the day was like generally talking about CI/CD and testing. The topic for the CI/CD was like some of the findings that we did with the Pro versus GitHub Actions, and then. And see whether if it makes sense for us to discuss it there or not to do that. Probably Fiacra may want to talk to both Rado and Victor on that one and then come to a conclusion. The other thing is to, just pure integration testing, how we want to continue to do the integration testing. And we definitely need a change there. We know that. I know, Victor, there are traditional ways of doing it using a integration framework such as Robot or something else, or pure Python or whatever, where the developer could come, use the APIs of the code and start writing the integration tests. And Victor also had some other idea as well. We wanted to talk about it. Victor, can you please give us an overview of what would that be and what do you think, what is in your mind that we need to discuss there?
Yeah, well, last week I was discussing with Timo some of the ideas, especially one thing that I have in mind is I would like to just provide some level of knowledge, like share the knowledge about test infra, because I know test infra has multiple like source code, like different goals. Like for example, we have the Ansible playgroup and the Ansible scripts, which are like in the sandbox, but also we have the end-to-end test, and we have some certain images. And so the idea is like, first of all, like let's walk through the entire project just to understand what is the reasoning for every single thing, and eventually like start discussing things. Like from my perspective, it would be nice to start separating things, especially if we put it like the Ansible playbooks in a separate repo, we can consume those things easier, and eventually even for other projects consume those things. But in terms of like especially talking about end-to-end, I think that we have to start thinking about like what we want. In one hand, what we have been doing is we have like a synchronization between the documentation and the end-to-end testing. So, but I don't know if we have to break that particular contract, because from the end-to-end perspective, probably it's not the most all the instructions that we are executing are not the most efficient. Like probably we have in the end-to-end, we have to inject certain waiting times or functions to wait for certain resources, something that we don't have to, especially like provide to the end user in the documentation. So, and also the tooling, like the tooling, I was thinking to use, there is like a tool called QUTL, which is Kubernetes Testing Platform. It's more like a, oh, is a question?
No, I don't think so. Did anybody ask a question?
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
So for that tool, maybe I could share a little bit my screen to give an idea. I mean, I was also planning to present it in the LFN testing developer forum. So maybe we can use that for more discussion and more things. So hopefully you can see my screen.
Yeah, Victor, we can see it. Yeah.
Okay. There are some of the advantages to use this particular tool, especially when you define the test cases. It's like, so there's a special form where you specify the thing that you have to do. In this case, it's like a step where I have two things, like I have the creation of cluster and I have another step to check a cluster, and everything is using YAML. So for example, the regular instruction, like cluster in this case, is this one, nothing special. Something that we have, like the package variant, certain things. So maybe you're familiar with all of this. For the session, I have the check cluster. So we have to define which is the desired state that we wanted. So in order to make this step successful, so for example, I expect to have like a package variant set with this name, maybe a package variant with a particular name or cluster. So eventually you define the desired state, like, okay, I want this workload cluster in ready status. Maybe if you're using deployment resource, I need to expect like this number of replicas, or so. I guess it's more like cloud native to define the test cases. So, but again, if we use this particular approach, basically we are going to break the contract, because eventually we are not going to start using the scripts and the documentation. We have to think about something but for the documentation. But also, I have seen some heavily investment in tooling, especially in docs, like using tools to check the instructions which are defined inside of the documentation. So they were also in the open source summit, especially venue where, like, I think the name was TechDocsCon or something like that. So where like people were just like focusing developing tools to keep those synchronization. Maybe I mean, you define the documentation and you have some tooling which is validating the instructions inside of the documentation. In that way, if you release something and the instructions are not in sync, or you modify something in your release, that is going to cause a break in your documentation and you get an error. Like, I mean, yeah, and that could also be maybe, I don't know how that has been expanded. Like, I know that there are some tools, but probably we have to investigate and see if there is something that we can use it like for our CI/CD. And but yeah, that's a major thing. Like, if we use this particular approach, the only disadvantage that I see is it's a new tool. It's something that we have to start investing, learning, and also figuring out, because the other ideal thing is maybe we can package all these desired states and put like testing packages, testing KPT packages. So, but I'm not sure, because right now the only way to run it is, so you have to install this plugin installer, like something that you have to do it in the client, in KPT, sorry, kubectl client. So let me see if I can find the installation quickly. So basically you have like an additional plugin here, and that's the way that you run it test. So from my perspective, it should be nice to have like an operator where you just say, well, just run this and QTTL should like eventually, because in this one, you can also specify the timeouts. So the definition probably is here. So where you define what is the timeout. So what are the things that you have to run it before, like how many things that you want to run in parallel. It's like, so there are multiple things, like you have the test suite category, which the subcategory, every test suite has multiple test steps, and every test step has probably or test cases, sorry, test cases maybe, and every single test case has multiple, one or many test steps to execute. So I wasn't pretend to make like this an overview of this particular tool, but it's something that I have in mind to start like sharing and presenting to them next week, where we can maybe start discussing what can we do, because I don't know if you noticed, but I have seen a lot of questions and from people who are like start testing all the things that we have and getting errors, and it's nice because we have more attention, but we need to be more effective in solve these things.
Yeah, yeah, I think this actually sounds very interesting, this particular tool that you talk about. So basically, you're suggesting if this tool is there, anything for a particular test, you can have a test suite, and the test suite can have multiple tests, and then each test will have
Yeah, like all these test steps, like
yeah.
And when you run it, you found like is detecting all of them and applying and asserting the cases. So maybe we can start migrating all our test cases to this particular platform. But eventually, if we start doing that, what is going to happen is we're going to break a contract with the documentation, because as you know, the documentation that we have is like saying, okay, you have to run this, and
Yeah, that's okay. I'm not too worried about that part. So what does the 0-1 operations do here?
So, something that I forgot to include it, but the idea, I mean, with this POC that I have my own, I was trying to explain both things, but yeah, we can ignore it.
Okay.
Eventually, it's another step probably.
Okay, so it's essentially, as long as something is a KRM, you can just mention that in your test YAML in terms of what is the input and what is the output that you expect, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Actually, it sounds a very interesting tool to me. And then what do you need to deploy on the cluster itself?
The only thing that you have to do, I mean, once that you have this installed, I mean, if you run it,
This is on the client side, right? This is on the client
yeah,
side.
it's in the client. So the only thing is you have to run this test in a specific folder, because it is using some relative. I mean, I have to be in the place where is located this particular file, because it's like the reference that is taken. As you can see, taking, okay, from this folder, run all the things that you have defined. So I have this E2E folder, and it's going to auto discover all the test cases and start running by this number of sequence. So you can define the order in the same way that you do it in the test infra, like with a prefix like 001 or 002 or things like that. I mean, I haven't like mastering this particular tool, but it's very promising what it is offering. Yeah, the only thing that I would like to have it is more like more independence of don't have to doesn't have to install this particular plugin, and maybe using like a operator. But other than that, I guess.
So this particular plugin, this is on the client side, right? Nothing goes, is there any component that goes on the cluster in test? For example, you have management cluster and workload cluster, right? Is there anything that needs to be installed?
No, I guess probably, I don't know if internally it's installing some of the CRDs, because I saw like, I was getting an error, so I wasn't sure if this was a way to solve that error, but probably it's because I was using a different folder. So maybe some CRDs, but other than that, I don't see any additional I don't know, operator or service or whatever. So, and there are other interesting things about, for example, it has some flags. So for example, you can specify to this tool to create like a kind cluster. So, and also, I think here, like you can specify the namespace. So if you don't specify the namespace, basically it's just going to, let's say that you can, because this tool was created for like testing operators. So this tool basically can create like your kind cluster for you, and in that particular kind cluster can create like a new namespace, run the test, and leave the results there. Or like this case, which I'm saying like I don't want to create like a kind cluster. I just want to reuse what I had because I had to pre-create that kind cluster. So it's a way that I can force to reuse what I have.
So I had a question. Basically, I mean, I was just Googling Cuttle. So it seems like it helps with Kubernetes operator testing, seems like, which means you're planning to, instead of using the current way of using the scripts that we have, you're suggesting that we write an operator. Is that your high-level proposal? Instead of keeping it as scripts? Okay.
Yeah, I would like, because testing with the scripts is fine, but it seems like very imperative. So we are defining things that we have. And well, if we are promoting using more cloud native ecosystem on these things, this is one of the ways to approach this.
I see, okay. Thank you.
So the thing is, it could be this, or it could be something like the robo framework, or it could be any integration test framework, or including something like Gingo, if somebody wants to use that for integration, but anything. But that is only thing with that is the barrier for entry is a Golang thing. Robo is a very simple framework, but this one is also very interesting that Victor is showing. So going forward, we need to change our integration test framework for sure. We are trying to figure out which one is that. I think this looks, so essentially, Victor, on this one, we are, for example, let's take the use case. So let's say we are creating a cluster, and then you explain that. Let's say we are deploying the 5G core free 5GC. So in which particular case, we will be mentioning the PVS for that. Is that how it works, or a topology controller? Is that how it works? And then you specify the output.
Yeah.
Do you see any way that since you are very innately familiar with what we did with both OAI and Free 5GC, do you think whatever we did so far, do you think it's very naturally can be done in this way, or do you see any issues with that?
I think that maybe 80% of the things that we have, we can cover with this particular tool. There are like, even they have something which are using, for example, they can run some commands like, so even if they don't have it, the way to work around this particular lack of instructions is running things in the comments. So you can also cover that particular thing. So eventually, maybe the dirty way to solve those things is just putting everything as part of a comment, which is not the most, you know, best practice, or not the best practice. But I think, I mean, it's promising.
Okay. I just need around 5 minutes break, if it is okay. Fiacra, please go ahead and ask the questions. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Sorry about that. Somebody.
Yeah, I guess I think you already probably answered my question, but this looks pretty cool actually. But in terms of so as you say, most of what's in the scripts is, kubectl apply. well as the, you know, the majority of it, but we would still need to call the call KPT and port CTL, right?
Mhm.
So I guess you were saying operator, but could you build a test image, test Docker image with this, with port CTL, with KPT, with kubectl, all pre-installed, you know, and use it as your kind of as your base test image.
Yeah, I think they have a specific area. I mean, if I'm getting familiar with documentation, but I remember that they are like having those cases where you want to use customized images, and also I think that they have a cache. So instead of like, and for those cases where you have to run it multiple times, like similar scenarios, I think that they also have some level caching. Yeah, like this one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I guess, yeah, I guess like just looking, I'm just refreshing my memory on the scripts themselves. But yeah, even like, you know, so say for 35DC, you know, we deploy, what is it, three clusters? Is it one regional and two edge clusters? And then there's other, you know, there's other kind of scripting around setting up the connectivity between those clusters and stuff, isn't there? You know, using using the VLAN and stuff like that. I guess those would have to be called. But yeah, like if this and I guess then adding or extending or adding test cases would be fairly straightforward, would it? Is that the kind of
Yeah, I
the
think
idea?
so. I
Yeah.
think it's going to be easier to stand it. So
Like I'm saying, would you need to learn this framework to be able to use it properly? I guess you would to a degree, would you? Or is it just a drop it in a new YAML file and away you go?
yeah, at least for me, the most hardest thing was starting thinking about the proper layout, because they're using some kind of a structure, like for discovering all the test cases. I finally did it in my own small POC, and using this particular structure. I tried to mimic a little bit about what we have in the test infra
Repo, yeah.
repository. But yeah, I guess now it is working. If I just create like a new VM and you run it, I just run it from which is the name, from, I think from the root folder. It's going to discover and execute everything fine.
Okay.
So
Could you
yeah.
hook it into a GitHub action?
Mm.
Or does it have to run in Braille?
I think it's possible. I mean, because at the end of the day, it's like a virtual machine. Probably my only concern could be about the memory
Yeah.
limitations.
Oh well, yeah, no, you'd have to use a self-hosted machine, I would say,
Yeah,
if you did. Yeah.
and the biggest VM that they have is the iOS, the iOS, because yeah, you can use an Ubuntu Linux.
Yeah, but it's tiny. It's 8 gig of RAM or something. It's very small. Um, the GitHub hosted ones anyway.
Wow, no, well, pretty hard to find it. Yeah, but I remember like when I was like trying to get in extra resources, probably the highest one was, yeah, like using Mac OS, and the Mac OS has, instead of 2 CPUs, has like a 3, and that's a little bit better than the rest. I didn't hook in this, but probably I can try and step. I mean, in this particular POC, I'm not testing like any super heavy, so probably yeah, I can give it a try and let's see how this behaves.
Yeah,
But
just it'd be interesting. I'm not advocating for or against Proud, but yeah, just using GitHub. I had to Google it. Yeah, so it's four CPUs, 16 gig of RAM is the Ubuntu runners. Yeah, so you'd run out of resources fairly quickly. Yeah.
yeah, that's even better. Okay, well, that's pretty much what I have. Like, I mean, yeah, definitely. My idea for next week is just like also besides presenting this idea and discussing with the rest of the community, it's like trying to navigate through all the test infra project and give the opportunity to others to understand the internals and eventually have more contributors and spread the knowledge, because yeah, probably we're the few that we know how the internals work, and that's not very healthy in terms of the community.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you. I think looks like Bala might still not be back.
Yeah, so I don't know what is the next topic on the agenda. So
Oh, this is cool though. So but lots of tools to learn. But good, if it helps, I think we should probably use it.
yeah, especially I was quite interested about the tools that they were using for validating the source coding documentation.
Mhm.
So it's another area that eventually we have to also start thinking about it and use that particular approach. Because I mean, how many times we have changed certain things in the end-to-end or in some of the scripts, and we haven't updated the documentation.
But I guess there is an argument there. Like, should the end-to-end be documented in that way? You know, I think it's I know what you're saying, like in terms of the contract between the documentation and the scripts that run. But should there be a link there, a dependency there, really?
Yeah, that's a good question. To be honest, I don't think so. I mean, those two entities should be working separately, like they're having their own goals.
Yeah.
And,
like I think like John put the scripts together originally, and that worked there for play, you know, and documented the whole thing. But I think I'm not dismissing the work that put in, but was that just a getting started type thing? I'm not sure was it supposed to be, you know, our kind of end-to-end CI. I don't know, but that's yeah.
But in the other hand, we have to guarantee that all the instructions that we are saying in documentation.
Yeah, no, that sounds interesting. Yeah, that you can validate the commands in docs. Yeah.
The other thing, I don't know, Rado, you have to pay attention about the periodic jobs are still healthy, or like I haven't paid too much attention, so I'm not sure if they're getting
Periodic jobs. You mean the one that builds the preceded VM or generally the end-to-end?
Oh, like I think now I heard you. Let me share also the screen and also something that taking advantage that.
So the VM pre-baked VM image I've managed to fix. The problem was that for some reason, even though documentation says that Packer should inherit the token if it runs in GCE, and you don't have to point to it explicitly. It does not for some reason. I don't know if it's the version or not, but generally after pointing it to the right file, seems to be working. It generates the images, but it was actually a good point from Akash to also implement some job to clean those images so they don't pile up after some time. So I made a point to work on this, but generally I can see that the two jobs now are also in progress.
Okay, just to give a little bit context about what is happening. So Akash was predefined this pre-bake image or job. So basically, we're using Bucket to like taking what we have in the creation of the sandbox. So in the last patch, Rado fixed that particular error that we were having most of the time. So which is good. And now basically we are generating the images. The only eventual problem that we can get at is like, as you can see, all these images are 5 gigs. So eventually it's going to burn off our budget in terms of cloud. So we have to like start like continuing with this particular effort. Like one thing is consider how much images that we want to keep it in our catalog. Another thing is like obviously start using those images in other places, probably GitHub Actions, like or tests in places that we want to save this particular provisioning time. Like that. So I don't know now how can we consume it or like connect it or for which CI jobs we want to use them.
End-to-end job for sure. In Terraform that spins out the new instance, you can point it which image it should use to create the VM. So it can just grab it from here. It will cut few minutes from the end-to-end job for sure. So that's one thing that can be looked into.
Can they be made public? No, or can anyone pull those? Or
I'm not sure what's the set of permissions on those.
No, I'm not sure. Yeah, probably just for.
I think they are local. I think they are local, and if you want to make them public, you have to go through Google Cloud Builds to make them public. But I'm just I haven't checked this.
Messy, yeah.
And the scripts are here, right? So these are the Packer instructions. So anything that we want to include, probably we can put extra things here. So I'm not sure if there is like a like something additional that like can be used in this, or to make it public, or but yeah, for now is probably the first thing to address is eventually create something to clean the oldest images. The second thing probably, I don't know if that's the level of the number of priorities, but probably the second thing could be obviously start consuming, because now they are there. And I think we explored before, like the possibility to expose these failures to the Slack channel. So as far as I remember, Rado, so in order to do that, we have to upgrade the Pro server to inject or configure these things. Is that correct, or we need to something?
Sorry, for what?
Yeah, like publishing all these status, like Pro status in Slack, like connecting Pro with the Slack. So it's
No,
possible.
there's already a channel, GitHub Firehose on a Slack where all the notifications go. I guess John set it up. You can also there is a Slack plugin for Pro that you can specify what kind of messages you want to push there. I can configure it to contain this like in a separate channel to push those messages. I would just have to have access token for Slack. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure who's now in charge of it, actually.
Yeah, because I think no one is paying attention of these messages, so so it should be nice to like just at least keep an eye what is happening, and if those errors are still.
Yeah, for sure there's a Slack exporter for Pro, and you can like tailor what kind of things you want to see there, so it can be like from put to specific channel, specific information from certain set of jobs. So that can be done, but I would just have to have a token for.
There is a Pro status updates channel. Is that the one you're talking about, Rado? Or
there is a channel GitHub Firehose, which contains
Firehose, yeah, okay, but yeah, there's a Pro status update, so just join it.
Pro status update is that's the channel I've created.
But it's inactive, is it?
Long time ago, yeah. But
Okay,
so far I haven't found anyone to get like a token for the for Slack.
Another quick question around the Dependabot as well. I don't know if you saw that issue. I just posted one in the chat there. It seems to be so it's getting confused with this code quality plugin check or whatever, or the failure seems to be only related to the GitHub Action upgrades on the actual OpenSSF.
That's the stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's
The changes are the other one went through, right? I think one went through. Was it? I think it was a change in the actual go.mod, was it? But these ones seem to be changes to the actual GitHub Action YAML on the OpenSSF.
Yeah, it says configuration not found, but
yeah, I know I chatted with you on it online, but I didn't really understand what was causing the failure.
okay, let's try the easiest solution. Let's try to close it and reopen. Sometimes if the job just gets hanged for some reason, it will re-trigger it.
Hmm.
Or pushing to the to your fork or whatever thing you got there, just like whatever commit. Okay, it says job triggered. Says
It's
nothing for code QL though.
Still complaining about the configuration. Yeah, I don't know what that's.
Or haven't refreshed this. Yeah, that's weird. I haven't seen this kind of errors.
Like I fixed it on I created an LFX ticket for to add the Pandabot to the Easy CLA. So that's done.
Yeah,
But
I've seen this.
this one seems to be blocking the
Yeah, I've seen this. Thanks for
Yep, no worries.
for fixing those. Speaking of dependable, the thing is, we've kind of left off on creating the application to generate the ephemeral tokens to create pull requests for a dependable configuration. You see, the thing is, what has been added here just contains the top level directory for dependable configuration, and dependable is actually pretty stupid when it comes to this. So you have like multiple Docker files, multiple Go mod files. It doesn't go like deep inside the structure of the directories. There's no like globbing or like asterisk whatever. So it will not look for other directories in a structure. So for now, it's just taking the top level directory thing. So I've created the generator for it, but it has to somehow create the PR. In order to do it, you will have to either use the personal access token or general access token, which is pretty unsafe, really, and kind of like an old school thing. But you can also create like a GitHub app that will, based on its set of permissions, you can set it up for specific repositories, which you cannot do with tokens, for example. And from this application, it will just inherit the access token, which is actually generated each time it's being run. So it's pretty safe. So that's the part of generator is ready. We just have to add the application to the GitHub organization. I don't have access rights to do it. Hopefully, I guess we can bother Tal. I don't know, Tal, if you're on a call.
Yeah, Tal is on the call.
Yeah, I am. Sure.
So
It's
it's just a pretty bare bone application without webhooks or anything. It's just basically like you have to create one. When you have time, we can just do a quick call, and that's like 2 minutes of scrolling through it. I just have to find what actually set of permissions have to be set there. I have it somewhere in notes. And
sure. This is just a general thing. We can talk about it here. The whole permissions, who get permissions, why is it me? We're definitely at a point where it's not owned by Google, it's owned by the community. So there's no reason that only I, as a Googler, should have these permissions. So we can talk about making maybe all the chairs admins of the project. Or maybe even not just chairs. I don't know if it has to be a chair position necessarily. That's not listed as one of the responsibilities. But definitely it should be admin permissions for the project should be more distributed. They shouldn't be held by Google, I think.
That's one thing I also wanted to discuss at one point. I guess at least one person in SIG Release should be able to get the admin permissions for the project, just from like logistic
Yeah, exactly.
point of view, not to burden you with with this stuff.
Not just burden, but I shouldn't be the gatekeeper here. So I wonder maybe if the general rule should be that all chairs are just get access to the admin list. It could be more than chairs, right? People with other specific responsibilities. Just we're such heavy users of GitHub.com, right? So many features and testing, etc. issues are there. So anyway, I'm actually talking with Liam right now about tokens for access to apps and things like that. Yeah, there could be other people who need that access sometimes as well. So maybe we can start by just giving all chairs admin access.
Yeah, so at least we have a few of time zones covered.
Yeah, we don't want to make it maybe too open to too many people, just for it gets a little bit out of control. But I think chairs, here's my thinking: chairs are elected by the community for leadership. So I assume leadership. We can assume leadership includes also leading the GitHub.com project administration.
Yeah.
And SIG1 also is a more and more user of GitHub.com features with issues and discussions and things like that. So it makes sense to me.
Yeah, totally. I agree with that.
I'll go ahead and do that. Add all the chairs.
Yeah.
And one more thing, while we're on the topic of what you're discussing with Liam, I was thinking maybe it can be done like this. So first of all, what's the case? To automate the importing and exporting issues from GitHub, and so it seems like the software called GitHub CVS tools or something like this, or tools,
yeah,
something like this. It should require the triage level of permissions, which has like if you go through the description, it says like a user can create issues and blah blah blah. So this tool should work on this set of permission. It does not. So probably it has to be like a write or something. So I was thinking like maybe create a GitHub action that will periodically on every commit to some repository, you'll be committing this CVS file, and it will create the issues out of it using like the higher permission token there. So in this way, it's not bound to one person with set of permissions. You will just anybody could commit to the repo like we do for whatever we're using.
I think it's only a once off as well. This import, we only have to do it once. So
okay.
Yeah,
okay,
because
so
it's just the old place that Porch was. It wasn't kept dev. So we're just putting the issues from the Porch issues from there across to here once. So it's a one off.
Right. Okay.
So,
cool.
so we don't need to automate it too much.
Okay, I thought it's a part of an effort to automate some like.
No. Because it's just a one off import. That's why it's so annoying. It's so hard to do it. Yeah, I don't mind that. Like something like this, I don't mind the kind of one or two manual steps as long as it's not going to take days. Yeah. Anyway, there's another discussion there as one or two other possibilities. So look, I'll go back to the drawing board, and it looks like this token stuff is very strange. There's very little stuff as well on Google in it. So or on, take over for us. Okay. If everything fails, I'll just manually or I'll get a few volunteers to put in the important ones. I'll just put a link across to the kept dev in the issue. If we have to, we can do that. Okay.
Cool. Thanks, Liam. And then in the interest of time, I just want to circle back on the original thing. Sorry, I needed to step out. Victor, I believe you're going to present that Cuttle thing in the in the
LFM developer.
developer
yeah.
and testing form. Yeah, thank you so much. I think that's a great thing. We can start with that. And let's not worry about breaking documentation, compatibility, things like that. Obviously, things are at flux. We can change things. The existing one, we don't have to rip them out. We can just keep it. Then we can just slowly migrate those things into the new tool. Probably other things that also we need to figure out from the new tool perspective is like how mature the tool is, how widely used it is,
License.
yeah, license, yeah, absolutely. And then how active the community is, it's actively being worked on, probably those things. I think we can discuss it in that forum actually as well. So I think, but it's those discussions probably will organically trigger. That will be great. Thank you, Victor, for taking that one up. And before I also had one question to Rado. I know this is this GitHub Actions versus Pro, and then one of the action items on our side was to upgrade Pro and see whether that issue goes away. I know we were planning to do some upgrade at some point of time, Rado, of Pro. Do you know where are we on that one?
Yeah, I mean, I've tried on my testing grounds here a few upgrade strategies and few previous versions, and there were if this was fixing one thing, it was breaking the other. So it's still in works. I will probably use some sort of mixed versions there for different components. Seems like it's the way our configuration is done. Probably it should be first split to different functionalities, then just have a set of those which define the part of configuration which defines the versions of components, to have them separately, and then after upgrade reseed the configuration from the other part. And that's probably what I'm gonna do. Otherwise we'll end up with a mess. I've got also a different strategy, so just to set up a new Pro instance and then switch them over once everything works. Might lose some jobs at the process that will have to redone if they will not work. But I guess it's also a viable strategy. I'm hoping to do it probably over the next weekend, so to have this thing closed. So probably that will be the best time. If everything goes well, then it's weekend. If not, it will still be time to fix it or to revert back to what we have now in case of problems. So yeah, that's the status.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Probably, yeah, I think Fiacre wanted to talk to you and Victor on the GitHub action stuff. Fiacre, I will leave it up to you and Victor at this point of time whether we want to discuss that at all in the because Rado is not going to be in that conference, and Victor and Fiacre, if you can figure out whether we need to talk anything about Pro and GitHub Actions, please advise us. If not, we can just talk about the testing strategy like Victor presented. Yeah, thank you so much. The other thing I quickly want to ask one question to Rado and Victor is for one of the stories for the R3 release is to work on real bare metal, real VM based or bare metal clusters. Deploy them on a real Kubernetes clusters, either VM based or bare metal, doesn't matter, and then provide networking and provide end-to-end automation, and then make sure the call goes through. For that, Sagar from OAI said he may be providing some infrastructure in his lab for this. So one question would be for us to make use of that infrastructure. Do you see any issues from our CI/CD infrastructure perspective, the existing integration perspective, or do you think it's just pointing to those sort of servers? Yeah.
Well, let me speak a little bit to it. So in on a project, there was a situation where Orange was hosting a large part of testing infrastructure in their infrastructure, and at one point the company just pulled the plug on it because they, I don't know, changed their interest or something. So it caused a bit of mess. So I'll be really reluctant to rely, even though we're of course grateful for any for donating any, processing power to the and so on. But in case the company changes interest, I guess it's good not to rely too much on a specific implementation.
Yes, thanks for that advice. It's the OAI is also open source almost. Probably we can discuss the details, Rado, probably when that happens. But my question was if at all we go that route from the technical point of view, does the integration look okay, or do you think integration will have a problem?
Well, one of the things that we have to also think about it, especially is like the interconnect. So right now the way that we interconnect Kubernetes clusters or cluster API clusters are using CLab, like because it's very easy and we don't struggle too much. But in order to interconnect clusters provisioned by another tool like OpenShift or OpenStack or any cloud provider, we need to have something. I know that Wim has some ideas and he has been working in that particular thing. Other than that, I guess is doable. Just more like, at least for cluster API perspective, it's just more like generate like a particular package. Could be anyone supported by that project. And in terms of like the CI/CD, yeah, probably we have to consider the removal process. Like, so we are very good in provisioning things, but we are not considered like rolling back the resources and clean up everything.
Yeah, I think probably, let's take this topic for next thing. And then probably I also want to update on my upcoming vacation plan. Maybe we'll do that in the next meeting. Next week's meetings will be canceled, but after that, in that meeting, I'll update about my travel plans. I'll be slightly out for a few weeks. So I'll coordinate that with Rado. And I know we are just over time now. I'll stop recording and then we will see the other meeting. Thank you, everyone, and I will see you guys soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.